You've probably been told that if you're feeling tired, weak, and short of breath, the answer is simple. Eat more iron-rich foods or take a supplement. It seems straightforward. But for millions of people, that advice never works. They eat the spinach, they take the pills, and yet the fatigue only deepens. The question is not whether you're getting enough iron on your plate. The question is whether your body can actually use the iron you consume. And the answer to that question depends on something most discussions about iron deficiency never mention. Something that changes everything about how we understand this condition. And more importantly, how we finally resolve it. You are listening to the Longevity Library, where we archive the wisdom of healthy aging. The complete guide to understanding and resolving iron deficiency. Iron deficiency anemia affects more than 1.5 billion people worldwide, making it one of the most common nutritional deficiencies in existence. For those living with this condition, the impact on daily life can be substantial, yet many who receive a diagnosis never fully recover because they address only part of the problem. This guide examines the full picture of iron deficiency, how iron actually enters your body, why some people absorb it poorly while others absorb it easily, and what practical steps can make a meaningful difference in your iron status. Understanding iron deficiency. Symptoms and recognition. Iron deficiency anemia develops when your body lacks sufficient iron to produce adequate hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells responsible for carrying oxygen to your tissues. Without enough oxygen, every system in your body operates at a disadvantage. The symptoms of iron deficiency anemia are often subtle at first, then gradually intensify. Common signs include persistent fatigue that rest does not relieve, generalized weakness, and pale skin that may be most noticeable in the lower eyelids, nail beds, and palms, shortness of breath during activities that previously felt easy, such as climbing stairs or walking moderate distances, frequently develops. Some individuals experience dizziness or lightheadedness, particularly when standing up quickly. A lesser-known but characteristic symptom is pica, an unusual craving for non-food substances. People with significant iron deficiency may find themselves wanting to eat ice, clay, dirt, or starch. Leg tingling or restless legs also occur with some frequency. These symptoms develop because every cell in your body requires oxygen to produce energy. When iron levels drop too low, red blood cell production falters. And the red blood cells your body does produce are often smaller and paler than normal, containing less hemoglobin. They simply cannot carry enough oxygen to meet your body's demands. If you recognize these symptoms in yourself, medical evaluation is essential. Iron deficiency is not a diagnosis you should self-determine, as it requires blood testing to confirm and, importantly, to rule out potential causes that require different treatment approaches. The critical first step: ruling out blood loss. Before any discussion of diet or supplementation, one fundamental question must be addressed. Is iron leaving your body faster than you can replace it? Iron is carefully conserved by the human body. Unlike many nutrients, iron has no active excretory mechanism. Your body does not possess a way to deliberately eliminate excess iron. Under normal circumstances, iron leaves the body only through cell sloughing, skin cells, intestinal lining cells, and through blood loss. This means that when iron deficiency develops in an adult who is not pregnant, blood loss is the most likely explanation until proven otherwise. The bleeding may be obvious, such as heavy menstrual periods, or it may be hidden. Occult gastrointestinal bleeding, bleeding you cannot see, can arise from ulcers, polyps, hemorrhoids, inflammatory bowel conditions like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, or from malignancies anywhere along the digestive tract. Medications also contribute to blood loss. Regular use of aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen, or other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs can cause microscopic bleeding from the stomach lining that adds up over time. For this reason, any diagnosis of iron deficiency anemia should prompt a thorough medical evaluation to identify and address the source of blood loss. Supplements alone, without stopping the bleeding, are like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. The hole must be repaired first. Only after potential bleeding sources have been investigated and managed does it make sense to focus on the second part of the equation, ensuring you consume enough iron and, equally important, that your body can absorb the iron you consume. How iron absorption actually works. The majority of iron absorption occurs in the duodenum, which is the first section of your small intestine immediately after the stomach. This location is not accidental. The duodenum receives partially digested food mixed with stomach acid, and that acid plays an essential role in iron absorption. For iron to be absorbed, it must be in a form that intestinal cells can recognize and transport. Stomach acid helps convert dietary iron into these absorbable forms. This is why conditions or medications that reduce stomach acid can significantly impair iron absorption. Once iron reaches your duodenal cells, those cells decide how much iron to allow into your bloodstream. This decision is based on your body's current iron stores. If iron stores are adequate, absorption decreases. If stores are low, absorption increases, but only up to a point. There are limits to how efficiently your body can extract iron from food, and those limits depend heavily on the type of iron you consume. Importantly, individuals vary significantly in their natural ability to absorb iron. If you imagine a bell curve, most people fall somewhere in the middle. They absorb iron reasonably well, but not exceptionally. Some people, however, are naturally poor absorbers, extracting only minimal iron from the foods they eat. Others are efficient absorbers who readily obtain iron from their diet. This variation is partly genetic and partly related to the composition of one's diet. For those who are naturally poor absorbers, consuming large quantities of iron-rich foods may still result in deficiency. The amount of iron on your plate matters less than the amount that actually crosses from your intestine into your bloodstream. Two types of dietary iron. A fundamental difference. Not all iron is created equal. From a nutritional standpoint, there are two distinct forms of iron in food, and your body handles them very differently. Non-heme iron. The plant-based form. Non-heme iron is the form found in plant foods. It is also the form added to fortified products like breakfast cereals and the form used in most iron supplements. Worldwide, non-heme iron is the most commonly consumed type of iron simply because plant foods form the foundation of most diets. Sources of non-heme iron include spinach, kale, and other dark leafy greens, fortified breakfast cereals, dried fruits such as raisins and apricots, beans, lentils, and soy products, and most iron supplements and multivitamins containing iron. The challenge with non-heme iron is that its absorption is limited and easily disrupted. Even under ideal conditions, humans absorb only a small percentage of the non-heme iron they consume. The most efficient absorbers may extract up to 12% of the non-heme iron in a meal. Poor absorbers may extract as little as 2%. Several naturally occurring compounds in plants further reduce non-heme iron absorption. Phytic acid, found in grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes, binds tightly to iron and prevents its uptake. Polyphenol, abundant in tea, coffee, and many vegetables, also interfere with iron absorption. Even the fiber in plant foods can reduce iron absorption by speeding food through the intestine, reducing contact time with absorptive cells. This means that a bowl of fortified cereal with spinach and beans might contain a substantial amount of iron on paper, but the actual amount your body can use may be quite small. The inhibitors present in the same meal can significantly reduce absorption. Heme iron, the animal-based form. Heme iron is found exclusively in animal foods, specifically in the hemoglobin and myoglobin of animals. This form of iron is molecularly distinct from non-heme iron and is absorbed through a different pathway in your intestinal cells. The critical difference is that heme iron absorption is much more efficient and much less affected by other dietary components. Humans absorb between 20 and 40% of the heme iron they consume, depending on their individual absorption capacity and current iron status. Excellent sources of heme iron include liver from any animal, beef liver, chicken liver, pork liver, all provide concentrated, highly absorbable iron. A single serving of liver can provide nearly a full day's requirement of usable iron. Sardines and anchovies, eaten with their bones, are also rich sources. Beef, lamb, pork, and other red meats provide substantial heme iron. Poultry, including chicken and turkey, contributes heme iron as well. Fish and shellfish, particularly clams, oysters, and mussels, are excellent sources. Eggs also contain heme iron, with pastured eggs generally providing more than conventionally produced eggs, because heme iron is so much more absorbable. A small serving of animal food can deliver more usable iron to your body than a much larger serving of plant food. A 3-ounce serving of beef may contain less total iron than a cup of cooked spinach. But because your body can absorb 20 to 40% of the iron in beef versus only 2 to 12% of the iron in spinach, the beef likely provides more actual iron to your bloodstream. Dairy products are generally not good iron sources. Milk, whether whole, low-fat, or skim, contains minimal iron. Cheeses vary, with Parmesan and various goat cheeses being the best dairy options for iron, though still modest compared to meat, eggs, or fish. Medications that block iron absorption. A frequently overlooked cause of iron deficiency is medication use, particularly medications that reduce stomach acid. Proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, are among the most commonly prescribed medications worldwide. These drugs, which include omeprazole, Prilosec, esomeprazole, Nexium, lansoprazole, Prevacid, and pantoprazole, Protonix, are used to treat acid reflux, heartburn, and stomach ulcers. They work by powerfully suppressing stomach acid production. While these medications can be appropriate for certain medical conditions, their effect on iron absorption is substantial. Stomach acid performs several functions beyond digesting food. It also helps liberate iron from food and convert it into a form that intestinal cells can absorb. When acid production is suppressed, iron absorption declines. People taking proton pump inhibitors long-term are at increased risk for iron deficiency, and some may develop deficiency despite consuming adequate dietary iron. The problem is not intake, but absorption. If you take one of these medications and have unexplained iron deficiency, the medication itself may be the explanation. Histamine blockers like famotidine, Pepcid, and cimetidine, Tagamet, also reduce stomach acid, though generally less powerfully than PPIs. They too can impair iron absorption with long-term use. If you take acid-suppressing medications and have iron deficiency, this is a conversation to have with your prescribing physician. In some cases, the medication may be able to be adjusted or discontinued. In other cases, higher iron intake or different iron sources may be needed to overcome the absorption barrier. Populations at greatest risk. While anyone can develop iron deficiency, certain groups face substantially higher risk. Women of reproductive age constitute one of the largest at-risk populations. Monthly menstrual blood loss creates ongoing iron demands that can be difficult to meet through diet alone, particularly for women with heavy periods. Pregnancy further increases iron requirements, as the developing fetus draws iron from maternal stores to build its own blood supply. Pregnant women require significantly more iron than non-pregnant women, and deficiency during pregnancy can affect both maternal health and fetal development. Children are also highly vulnerable to iron deficiency. Rapid growth creates high iron demands, and children's diets may not always provide adequate absorbable iron. Iron is essential for proper brain development in children, and deficiency during early life can have lasting effects on cognitive function and developmental potential. Some children become what might be called accidental vegans. They consume minimal animal products not by design, but because of food preferences or family eating patterns, putting them at risk for deficiency that may go unrecognized. The elderly represent another high-risk group. Aging can bring changes in appetite, dental problems that limit food choices, reduced stomach acid production, and increased medication use, all factors that can contribute to poor iron status. Chronic health conditions common in older adults may also cause blood loss or inflammation that interferes with iron utilization. People who donate blood frequently can develop deficiency because each donation removes a significant amount of iron from the body. Regular donors should monitor their iron status and may need to increase intake to keep pace with losses. Individuals with congestive heart failure sometimes develop iron deficiency even without anemia, and correcting iron status can improve their symptoms and functional capacity even if hemoglobin levels are normal. People who have had gastric bypass surgery or other weight loss surgeries are at elevated risk because these procedures alter the digestive tract in ways that can impair iron absorption. The duodenum, where most iron absorption occurs, may be bypassed entirely in some procedures. Those with celiac disease, ulcerative colitis, or Crohn's disease face multiple challenges. They may absorb iron poorly due to intestinal damage, and they may lose blood from inflamed intestinal tissue. Managing iron deficiency in these conditions often requires treating the underlying disease first. Why standard iron supplements often fail? For many people diagnosed with iron deficiency, the standard treatment is oral iron supplements, ferrous sulfate, ferrous gluconate, or multivitamins containing iron. While these supplements help some individuals, they fail many others. The iron in standard supplements is non-heme iron, the same form found in plants. As such, it shares the absorption limitations of plant-based iron. A person who absorbs non-heme iron poorly will absorb supplemental non-heme iron poorly as well. Taking more pills does not necessarily overcome this limitation because absorption capacity is finite. Furthermore, unabsorbed iron does not simply disappear. It continues through the digestive tract and reaches the colon, where it can cause significant side effects. Constipation is the most common complaint with iron supplements, affecting a substantial proportion of users. Nausea, abdominal discomfort, and dark stools also occur frequently. These side effects often lead people to stop taking supplements before their deficiency has been corrected. The irony is that people who most need iron supplementation, those with significant deficiency, are often the very people who tolerate supplements most poorly and absorb them least efficiently. This does not mean supplements are never useful. Some people do respond well to oral iron, and for them, supplements can be an effective treatment. But for those who do not respond, continuing to take pills that cause side effects without correcting deficiency is not a solution. Practical dietary approaches to improve iron status. For most people, the most reliable way to improve iron status is through dietary choices that emphasize highly absorbable iron sources. This does not necessarily require large quantities of food because heme iron is so well absorbed. Relatively modest amounts can make a meaningful difference. Incorporating heme iron sources. Liver stands out as the most concentrated source of highly absorbable iron. Beef liver, chicken liver, and pork liver all provide iron in a form your body can readily use. A single serving can provide more usable iron than days' worth of plant-based eating. For those who find the taste or texture challenging, liver can be mixed with ground meat in dishes like meatloaf or burgers, or taken in desiccated form as a supplement. Sardines and anchovies offer another concentrated option. These small fish are typically eaten with their bones, which contributes to their mineral content. Canned sardines are widely available, inexpensive, and require no preparation. They can be eaten as a snack, added to salads, or mashed into spreads. Red meat, beef, lamb, pork, provides substantial heme iron. The more commonly consumed cuts like beef steak or roast, lamb chops, and pork loin all contribute. Even modest portions, eaten regularly, can support iron status. Shellfish deserve special mention. Clams, oysters, and mussels are excellent iron sources, with some varieties providing amounts comparable to liver. Canned versions are economical and convenient. For those who prefer not to eat mammals, shellfish offer heme iron without requiring consumption of animals with faces. Poultry, including chicken and turkey, provides heme iron, though generally in lower concentrations than red meat or shellfish. Dark meat contains more iron than white meat. Eggs also contribute, with the iron concentrated in the yolk. For those who include dairy in their diets, focusing on aged cheeses like Parmesan and various goat cheeses provides more iron than milk or fresh cheeses, though dairy remains a modest iron source overall. Enhancing non-heme iron absorption. If you consume plant-based iron sources, either by choice or as part of a mixed diet, several strategies can improve absorption. Cooking can reduce the phytic acid content of grains and legumes. Soaking beans and lentils before cooking, and allowing grains to sprout or ferment, further reduces phytate levels and improves mineral availability. Consuming vitamin C alongside non-heme iron significantly enhances absorption. Vitamin C binds to non-heme iron and helps keep it in a form that intestinal cells can absorb. Adding citrus fruits, bell peppers, tomatoes, or other vitamin C-rich foods to meals containing plant iron sources can increase the iron you extract from those meals. A glass of orange juice with fortified cereal, for example, improves iron absorption from the cereal. Separating iron inhibitors from iron-containing meals also helps. Tea and coffee contain polyphenol that strongly inhibit iron absorption if consumed with meals. Drinking these beverages between meals rather than with meals reduces their impact on iron status. Similarly, calcium supplements and dairy products can interfere with iron absorption when consumed together. So taking calcium at different times than iron-rich meals may be beneficial. Special considerations for ethical and religious dietary choices. Some individuals avoid animal products for ethical, religious, or philosophical reasons. These choices deserve respect, but they also require acknowledgement of the nutritional challenges they can create. If you follow a vegetarian or vegan diet and have iron deficiency that does not respond to dietary adjustments or supplements, you face a genuine dilemma. Your current approach is not providing enough usable iron to maintain your health, and continuing the same approach is unlikely to yield different results. This situation calls for honest assessment of priorities. Health is the foundation that enables everything else: your ability to work, care for family, pursue your values, and contribute to causes you believe in. Chronic iron deficiency, with its fatigue, weakness, and cognitive effects, diminishes your capacity in all these areas. Some religious traditions recognize this reality through the concept of therapeutic exceptions. In Judaism, for example, religious authorities have permitted the use of desiccated pork thyroid for individuals with hypothyroidism who do not respond adequately to synthetic alternatives. The principle is that preserving health and life takes precedence over usual dietary restrictions when no adequate alternative exists. A similar approach can apply to iron deficiency. If plant-based sources and supplements have failed to correct your deficiency, adding small amounts of heme iron specifically for therapeutic purposes may be the most ethical choice available. The choice that preserves your health and allows you to continue living according to your values in all other respects. This does not require embracing an entirely new way of eating. It might mean including shellfish occasionally, or eggs, or small amounts of organ meats. It might mean consuming these foods in a way that feels separate from your usual dietary practices, as medicine rather than as meals. The goal is not to change your identity or your beliefs, but to provide your body with what it needs to function. For those who cannot or will not consume any animal products, working with a knowledgeable healthcare provider to optimize non-heme iron absorption and consider different supplement formulations may help. Though the biological limitations of non-heme iron absorption remain. The role of stomach acid revisited. The importance of stomach acid for iron absorption cannot be overstated. Beyond its role in liberating iron from food, stomach acid also affects the absorption of vitamin B12 and other nutrients. Adequate stomach acid levels are essential for proper nutrition. As people age, stomach acid production sometimes declines naturally. This age-related reduction in acid can contribute to poorer iron absorption even in the absence of acid-suppressing medications. For older adults with iron deficiency, considering stomach acid status may be part of the solution. Signs of low stomach acid can include bloating, belching, and a feeling of fullness after meals, particularly after eating protein-rich foods. If these symptoms accompany iron deficiency, addressing stomach acid levels under medical guidance may improve both digestion and iron absorption. A complete approach to resolving iron deficiency. Resolving iron deficiency requires more than simply eating more iron-rich foods or taking supplements. A complete approach includes several steps, each of which must be addressed. First, confirm the diagnosis through proper blood testing. Iron studies, complete blood count, and ferritin levels provide the information needed to understand the severity and type of deficiency. Second, identify and address any source of blood loss. This step is non-negotiable. Without stopping ongoing losses, no amount of dietary change will fully correct the deficiency. Third, evaluate medications and medical conditions that might impair absorption. Proton pump inhibitors, histamine blockers, and conditions affecting the digestive tract must be considered and managed appropriately. Fourth, choose iron sources based on absorbability rather than total iron content. Prioritize heme iron from animal foods, which provides the most usable iron per serving. If you include plant iron sources, use strategies to enhance absorption and separate inhibitors. Fifth, monitor your response. Iron deficiency does not correct overnight. Building iron stores takes time, and retesting after several months of consistent dietary change shows whether your approach is working. Sixth, if dietary approaches fail despite correct implementation, reconsider the possibility of ongoing blood loss or malabsorption. Additional medical evaluation may be needed to identify less obvious causes. The goal: sustaining healthy iron levels. Once iron deficiency has been corrected, the goal shifts to maintaining healthy iron levels over the long term. This requires ongoing attention to the factors that cause deficiency in the first place. For some people, this means continuing to include heme iron sources in their regular diet. For others, it means periodic monitoring to catch early signs of declining iron stores before full deficiency develops. For those with ongoing blood loss, such as heavy menstrual periods or chronic conditions, it means working with healthcare providers to manage those losses as effectively as possible. Iron status is not static. It fluctuates with diet, blood loss, and changes in health. Understanding how your body handles iron, what foods provide the most usable iron, and what factors interfere with absorption gives you the tools to maintain healthy levels throughout your life. The fatigue, weakness, and other symptoms of iron deficiency are not inevitable. With proper evaluation and targeted dietary choices, most people can achieve and maintain iron levels that support full energy and well-being. The single most important truth about iron deficiency is this: what matters is not how much iron you eat, but how much iron your body can actually absorb and use. The difference between these two numbers, between consumption and absorption, is the difference between continuing to struggle and finally reclaiming your energy. If you've been living with fatigue that won't lift, or if this discussion has raised questions about your own health journey, we invite you to share your reflections in the comments. And if you'd like to continue exploring the foundational knowledge that supports healthy aging, we hope you'll explore other videos in this library and subscribe so you never miss new wisdom. This is the Longevity Library. Listen, learn, and live longer.